Hey guys, LE here, and today I have one of the more anticipated videos on my channel. If you haven't guessed already, it would be the story of Petunia. And yeah, I've gotten a ton of requests to do this, so without further ado, let's get to it. So Petunia's story begins almost a year ago. It was July 2019, and there was this guy named Miguel who contacted my dad and Jamie and asked if they would accept this beautiful baby pig that he had. Her name was Petunia, and he just sent us videos of her jumping on the couch with him, sleeping with him. It was just the most tiny, adorable thing ever. Kind of like Trudy and kind of like Patty when she was a baby. Just tiny, jolly, happy-go-lucky, super duper adorable. And at that time, we had just lost Roland. Patty, as I said, is one of the OGs, as I call her, one of the 3 original Hurricane Harvey survivors. So pigs have always held a soft spot in our hearts, and of course we said yes, we would take Petunia. Eventually the time came for Miguel to transport Petunia to us. He came all the way from Dallas. So for those of you that don't know, Dallas is about 3 or 4 hours away from where we live. So hats off to Miguel for making that long of a trek to bring us Petunia. But it's funny, I remember my dad had a very puzzled look on his face whenever Miguel showed up. And it was because he had a ginormous cage in the back of his truck. And that didn't make any sense to us, because you would think for a house pet, they would have just had it in the front seat, or at the very least, like in a cardboard box or something. In the video, like I said, the pig was sleeping with him in his bed and was like jumping on the couch with him, so it didn't make sense to have it in a ginormous cage until he got out of his truck and he opened the back. And what did we see in there? Not the little adorable 3-pound pig that we've seen in the videos. We saw a 300-pound pig that was, well, Petunia.
And Stacy and his family out of Dallas, and they're going to bring us an amazing adoption, a little pig named Petunia. I can't wait to meet her. Look at this baby girl. She's huge. Oh, she's exhausted. I know she is. Hi, baby. Hi, love.
So it didn't take long after Miguel left for us to realize there was something seriously wrong with Petunia. One day my dad went over there to check on her and saw she had gotten herself stuck in a barbed wire fence, and he noticed that she couldn't see. So my dad called the vet right away. The vet came out and told us that not only was she blind, but she was also deaf. And she said the reason was because she had gained so much weight, there was so much excess fat covering her eyes that she couldn't see out. So that's what they call mechanically blind. The really sad thing though is that this was only the beginning of Petunia's struggles and hardships. So after the vet left, we had to figure out what we were going to do with her, because we couldn't just leave her on her own out there with the other animals. Being blind and deaf, she wouldn't be able to navigate and find her way around like the others were. So we built her a tiny stall with food, water, and all the other essential resources she needed, and shade as well, of course. And we tried to feed Petunia healthy foods, but she was so accustomed to a poor diet, an unhealthy one, that she had developed hypoglycemia, which for those of you that don't know is low blood sugar. I know that term because in the movie Mall Cop, Paul Blart has hypoglycemia. But Petunia, within 2 days, went into shock because she wasn't getting the sugar that she needed or that she was accustomed to. So we called the vet out, and it was just a really scary and traumatic moment because we thought we were going to lose another pig. Like I said earlier, we had already lost Roland very recently, so the thought of having to bury 2 pigs was just heartbreaking. But thank God the vet was able to work her magic and was able to get Petunia to come out of it. And she told us that we needed to feed her something, no matter how unhealthy it was, because frankly, she had a better chance of survival eating something that was unhealthy than us feeding her something she wouldn't eat at all. So my dad tried to find the healthiest meal he could get Petunia to eat. So after doing some research, he figured that oatmeal would be the best way to go. So he found a good little recipe for her, started feeding it to Petunia, and she slowly began to eat it, and she slowly started to get better over time. Another way the vet said we could alleviate her stress was by finding her a companion animal, one that could guide her around the farm. And a lot of you know that for humans, it's not uncommon for one that's blind to have a seeing eye dog. So we decided that it would be nice for Petunia to have, it kind of sounds silly, but a seeing eye pig. And that led to the addition of Tiny Tim. So eventually the long-awaited day of Tiny Tim's arrival came. And when he got here, I think he realized right out the gate that something was off about Petunia, that she wasn't quite 100%, let's say. So he began to take advantage of her. He was very cunning and clever. He would try to steal her food. I don't want to say pick on her, but he just kind of, like I said, took advantage of her. But over time, Petunia began to stick up for herself. She began to defend her food from him whenever they were eating. And I think he began to respect that, and he began to respect her. So over time, you could see him start becoming closer and closer. On day 1, they couldn't even be in the same room together. And then by day 5, they were cuddling right next to each other. So after they started getting along, we moved them both outside together, and it was our hope that Tiny Tim would help Petunia navigate around the farm like the other animals and be her eyes and her ears, as I was talking about earlier. But one thing put a major dent in those plans, and that was Peggy Pig. The first time that Tiny Tim laid eyes on her, it was just the best way I could describe it is love at first sight, and there was no going back. Tiny Tim totally ditched Petunia right that moment and started following Peggy Pig around everywhere. It was upsetting at first, but it all worked out okay because Petunia eventually found that little nook in the corner that she sits at right now, and she knows that spot like the back of her hand, or I guess like the back of her hooves rather. Nah, but in all seriousness, Petunia is on cloud 9 in that spot. She knows it so well. You can see her little tail wagging whenever we bring her food, whenever she gets corn. She loves avocado ranch, so she's just a happy-go-lucky, jolly pig in that spot, living her best life, and she'll live there the rest of her life. So it all worked out okay. It's easy to compare Petunia and Roland as far as who had to overcome more adversity. And Roland had Dippity Pig syndrome. He lost the function of his back 2 legs, but even then, it was easy to find a solution because on YouTube, there were so many exercises you could do for the pigs, and on Google, there was a bunch of information about how to handle and treat Dippity Pig syndrome. As far as Petunia though, you don't even know where to begin with a pig that's both blind and deaf. And then if that's not bad enough, like I said, she had hypoglycemia, so you're very limited as far as her diet and limited in how well you can help her lose weight. So all in all, in hindsight, I would have to say that Petunia might have been through the most adversity of any animal on our farm. And I think that we can all learn a thing or two from her about her resiliency and how far she's come. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Petunia is getting better by the daily, and she has taught us all a thing or two about resiliency. But yeah, with that said, hope you guys enjoy. Be sure to let me know in the comments what kind of stuff you guys want to see. Hope you have a great day. And as I always say, your boy Ellie out.